Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I never imagined that one of the most painful moments of my cancer journey wouldn't come from a diagnosis, a round of chemotherapy, or the terrifying nights alone wondering how much time I have left, but from my own son's wedding. I never thought I'd be writing something like this. I never thought I'd be sitting here, questioning whether I ruined his big day, or whether he and his new wife destroyed something in me that might never heal. I, 58 female, have stage 3 breast cancer. I've been undergoing chemo for the past year, and it's taken its toll. The treatments have left me physically weakened and emotionally drained. Most days, I can't walk unaided, so I use a wheelchair now. It's not something I'm ashamed of, but I won't pretend it hasn't been an adjustment. I've lost my hair, my energy, and many parts of my independence. But I've clung tightly to the small joys. The laughter from friends who visit, the sunshine streaming through my window, the feeling of purpose I had while helping plan my son's wedding. My son, Adam, 28 male, is my only child. His father passed away when Adam was just 10 years old. From then on, it was just the two of us. I raised him through heartbreak, financial struggles, and everything life could throw at us. I was there for the scraped knees, the bullies at school, the science fairs, the first heartbreak, and the college acceptance letters. I worked double shifts, skipped vacations, and poured everything I had into giving him a decent life. I wasn't perfect, but I did my best. I gave him all I could. When he met Amanda, 27 female, I was genuinely happy for him. She was polite enough, though a little distant. Over time, I tried to be involved without being overbearing. I offered advice when asked and respected their space when not. When the wedding planning began, I didn't expect much beyond being a supportive presence. I did offer to cover the cost of their wedding photographer. It was a big expense, and I knew they were trying to stick to a budget. I told them it could be my gift. I chose a photographer who specialized in candid, elegant shots, someone who had experience working at large weddings and was known for her beautiful work. I paid the full amount up front, a little over $6,000. I never once asked for creative control or demanded anything specific. I just wanted a few nice photos with my son on his wedding day. Nothing extravagant, just something to hold on to. A memory, a moment. In the weeks leading up to the wedding, I focused all my energy on being healthy enough to attend. My doctors were supportive and adjusted my chemo schedule to give me a window of recovery. I rested religiously. I watched my diet. I even scheduled a makeup session the morning of the wedding so I could look my best. Not because I cared what anyone thought, but because I wanted my son to look at me and feel proud. I rented a beautiful navy blue gown that matched the color scheme. I wore pearl earrings that had belonged to my own mother. The ceremony was held at a vineyard estate just outside the city. It was absolutely stunning. Rolling hills, late summer sun, floral arches, the kind of venue you see in bridal magazines. Everything went smoothly. The ceremony was heartfelt, and watching Adam at the altar brought tears to my eyes. I sat quietly in the front row, beaming with pride. I remember thinking, this is worth everything. All the chemo, all the pain. This moment makes it worth it. After the ceremony, people mingled, sipped wine, and posed for photos. The photographer and her assistant began coordinating the formal portraits. That's when I noticed the assistant checking in with Amanda and Adam, then circling back toward the other guests. She never called for me. I waited patiently, thinking it was just a matter of timing, but as the group photos went on, parents of the bride, bridesmaids, groomsmen, siblings, grandparents, I realized something was wrong. Eventually, Adam came over to speak with me. His demeanor had shifted. There was hesitation in his body language, a sort of embarrassed tension in his voice. In essence, I was told that including me in the formal photos wouldn't fit the aesthetic they had planned. My wheelchair was distracting. They would get some casual shots with me at the table later. It was said with a smile, cloaked in politeness, but the message was crystal clear. I was not wanted in the official record of the day. The pain I felt in that moment wasn't just about exclusion. It was about invisibility. It was the kind of rejection that makes you question your worth, Not as a guest, but as a mother. I had survived so much, endured so much, just to be there, only to be reduced to a potential eyesore in their precious album. I quietly excused myself and rolled away from the main area, trying to keep my composure. I didn't cry, not yet. I just sat beneath an old oak tree, staring out at the hills, trying to make sense of what had just happened. I thought about the hospital visits, the bald patches, the nausea, the fear. All of it made bearable by the hope that I was still needed, still loved, still seen. The photographer found me shortly after. She had noticed I wasn't included and came to check in. I told her everything, not emotionally, just plainly, like someone reciting a diagnosis they've already accepted. She listened with kind eyes and quiet understanding. Then she said something I hadn't expected. She reminded me that I was the one who paid for the full package, that I was the client of record, that if I wanted, she could stop shooting. It would be well within my rights. At first, I hesitated. I didn't want to be vindictive, but then I realized I didn't need to make a scene. I didn't need revenge. I just needed to reclaim something for myself, a little dignity. I asked her to take a few photos of me, just me, sitting under the oak tree. The breeze was soft, the light was golden. I looked directly into the camera and smiled. Not for anyone else, just for me, just to remember how much I overcame. Then I told her we were done. She and her assistant quietly packed up and left. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't storm out or draw attention. I simply asked my driver to come early, and I left. No speeches, no tears, no drama. I left as quietly as I had arrived. That night, my phone began to buzz. Dozens of messages, angry, accusatory. Some were from Adam, others from Amanda. Then from Amanda's mother, a few cousins, even Adam's best friend. They all echoed the same sentiment. I had ruined the wedding. I had embarrassed them. I had disrespected the sanctity of the day. One even said, "You made your cancer the center of attention." I didn't respond to most of them. What was there to say? I didn't ask to get sick. I didn't ask for attention. I didn't ask for pity. I only wanted to be the mother and to be included. It's been nearly 2 weeks since the wedding. Adam hasn't called. Amanda blocked me on everything. The photos sit quietly in a digital folder, untouched. I haven't decided what to do with them yet. I've spent so many nights since then replaying everything in my head, wondering if I was wrong. If walking out was selfish. If pulling the photographer, my gift to them, was petty. If I had, in some way, allowed my pain to eclipse their joy. But every time I look at those messages, those hollow accusations, I remember the look in Adam's eyes when he told me they didn't want me in the pictures. Not today, not visibly, not like this. And something in me breaks all over again. So Reddit. Am I the a-hole for walking out of my son's wedding and taking the photographer with me after they refused to include me in the photos because I'm in a wheelchair due to chemo? OP is definitely not the a-hole here. She paid for the photographer. She fought to be present at her son's wedding despite going through one of the most brutal experiences a human being can face. And they couldn't even be bothered to include her in a photo. That's not aesthetic. That's ableism. That's image-obsessed shallowness masquerading as style. OP didn't ruin their wedding. They ruined their relationship with OP. And someday, they'll look back at those photos and realize how empty they feel without AOP in them. And now let's hear community's opinion. I wish I had the right words, but please hear me when I say you are absolutely NTA. I don't care how perfect someone wants their wedding album to look. Excluding your cancer-fighting mother in a wheelchair is inhumane. You didn't make the day about you. They did that by letting vanity trump love. And as for pulling the photographer, you had every right. It was your gift. They chose to exclude you, so you chose to walk away. That's called boundaries, and I'm so sorry you had to draw that line in such a painful moment. NTA and holy hell. I hope your son wakes up one day and feels the full weight of this. You gave them a gift. You showed up despite your illness, and they basically treated you like a prop that didn't fit their Instagram grid. The fact that you didn't make a scene, didn't shame them publicly, and still left with dignity just shows your strength. If anything, your story shows how monstrous people can be when their obsession with appearances outweighs basic compassion. What they did wasn't just disrespectful. It was soul-crushing. To look at your mother, who fought to stay alive long enough to be there and say, "You don't fit our vision," is beyond heartless. You were excluded not because of who you are, but because of how your illness makes them feel. And that's a reflection on them, not you. Not the a-hole at all. In fact, I think you're a hero for enduring that, for still wanting to love your son, and for walking away with your head high. You deserved better. You still do. So, I know I'm a dummy for letting her try it on, but it was originally her dress, so I felt awkward saying no. My in-laws are rich. Note, we are not. Dear husband was fully cut off financially. And mother-in-law had a huge wedding, complete with the most gorgeous dress I've ever seen. It was custom-made, hand-embroidered, just spectacular. Mother-in-law gave the dress to sister-in-law when she got married. Sister-in-law asked if she wanted it back, and mother-in-law said no. Sister-in-law could keep it. Mother-in-law has never liked me and claims I am mean to her, but doesn't have any examples of why I'm supposedly mean. Sister-in-law offered to let me wear the dress, and I jumped at the opportunity. We are doing everything on a budget, and it is a beautiful gown, which I could never afford. Mother-in-law immediately got upset and said she didn't want me wearing her dress. Sister-in-law reminded her that it wasn't really hers anymore. Cue lots of pouting and drama. I'm going to have to get it taken in a little because my boobs are smaller than theirs. Mother-in-law asked if she could try it on, just once more for old time's sake. I felt uncomfortable, but I could see why she would want to do that for sentimental reasons, so I agreed. Mother-in-law said that she wanted to show father-in-law, who was in his home office. She went upstairs and I heard a gasp. I immediately got a sick feeling in my stomach and ran upstairs, and mother-in-law was covered in coffee. Father-in-law claims he went to hug her and spilled an entire travel mug of black coffee on her. Of course, this coffee was conveniently room temperature, so she didn't get burned. Black, despite the fact he always takes cream. And who the hell drinks out of a travel mug with no cover? Mother-in-law was trying so hard not to smile, and before I could stop him, father-in-law tried to help by rubbing, which obviously made it worse. Sister-in-law has the dress now and is taking it to a very reputable cleaner, but it is a super delicate fabric and is almost 30 years old. Future husband is furious and left her a nasty voicemail. He told her she better not show up at the wedding, but I don't know how we can enforce that when we are getting married in her yard. I'm probably going to have to find a cheap last-minute replacement, and mother-in-law is probably going to show up in something gorgeous as a duck you. Clearly, father-in-law had no problem playing along with her antics. Do you really think it will proceed smoothly using their home as a venue? She's going to ruin your wedding day in a similar manner if you keep it there. Definitely agree with others' recommendation to change venues. Seriously, find a new venue. You've got time, and if you stay there, she'll find other things to ruin on your day. You don't want to look back at your wedding day with sadness or regret that she did something terrible to you. Then hire a police officer or two to do security at the venue. There are cops who love making extra money doing that, and they're not that expensive. They'll keep her out, and if she doesn't listen, she'll win herself a trip in the squad car. My wedding venue required police presence because we had alcohol, and I was surprised at how inexpensive it was. It will save you so much headache. Never ever mention that dress again. Never. She wanted to hurt you, and the only way she'll know she succeeded is if you talk about it. Don't. If she ever alludes to it and acts apologetic, say, "Well, it worked out because I really like the dress I wore better. It was easier to dance in. Didn't have to be specially tailored to cover the alterations. Will always be my dress and no one else's. Pick one or make up something else." Prick her self-satisfaction at having thwarted you by pretending it doesn't matter that she's a petty witch. Eventually, you'll truly not care. I, 30 male, and my wife, 30 female, have been married for a year. My wife gave birth to our newborn son 3 weeks ago. We were both very excited, but my wife's mom had passed away a year before we got married, so she was quite upset that her mom wasn't there. So she didn't want my mom to be in the delivery room, which I completely understand. My mom, 58 female, wanted to be in the delivery room, but she was okay with my wife's decision after I told her about it. My wife and my mom get along okay with each other. So everything was fine after that. So a few days after our son was born, my sister-in-laws, 24 female and 27 female, came to see my wife and our son. My wife was okay with them coming over and didn't mind. I didn't have a problem either, so everything was fine. But my mom was very excited and wanted to see her grandson, but my wife hadn't invited her or anything. So I thought my wife had forgotten about my mom and invited my mom to come over and surprise my wife. My mom came over and stayed with us for a day. I am doing everything, like cooking, cleaning, and other household stuff for the last 3 weeks to give my wife a break and time to recover. So she didn't have to take care of my mom or anything. But after my mom left, my wife was upset with me and told me I shouldn't have invited my mom like that, and that the first few weeks are very important to have time with the baby, so she didn't want any guests. But my wife was okay with my sister-in-laws coming over, so I felt like my mom was being left out of our son's birth. I thought my mom would be more helpful than my sister-in-laws because she went through the same experience, unlike my sister-in-laws. But I am feeling guilty about this, so my question is, am I the a-hole for inviting my mom? Yes, the a-hole. It sounds like your sister-in-law did not spend the night, but your mother did. Also, of course she's going to be more comfortable with her sisters at her house than she is with her mother-in-law. It doesn't matter that your wife didn't have to entertain. She probably felt she needed to be on, which is exhausting when you have a newborn and you're healing. She might not feel the need to be on with her sisters because they grew up together. Side note, your mom was not left out of your son's birth. She was not involved in the production or gestation of your child. She can want to be in the room all she wants, but she wasn't invited. And I don't have a single friend who would want their mother-in-law in the room while they gave birth. Can't believe the praise OP is getting for doing basic things that women are expected to do all the time. Good job. You're cooking and cleaning after your wife pushed a baby out of her body. Yes, the a-hole, god dang it. Talk to her about these things and how you're feeling. It's exhausting to be her right now, and it has been for the last 9 months. She deserves extra empathy, and y'all are not in equal footing to make demands right now. Yes, the a-hole, for a few reasons. You shouldn't surprise a new mom like that. We're very vulnerable during the first few weeks, months postpartum. An all-day visit? Seriously? Visits should be kept to an hour or 2 max with the newborn around. Just because you're doing all of the chores doesn't mean that she doesn't feel obligated to host. I'd be pissed if my husband sprung guests on me like this. Signed, a 4-week postpartum mom. Let me first say that I enjoyed my wedding. It was beautiful. I actually ate. I got to see family members, and I got to legitimately celebrate with everyone. That didn't stop my mom from throwing her crazy around. We'll start with the day before. I just got out of the hospital 2 days before the wedding. I've been in and out for the past month, but I'm getting better. Day before the wedding, I'm tired, I'm vulnerable, and I have a lot jam-packed into one day. My mom calls me screaming as soon as I pick up. "Your cake is wrong! It's all wrong!" I was more confused than panicked, but I could just feel the stress beginning to weigh in. They didn't have some ambiguous flower my mother wanted on the cake, so they replaced it with flowers that make sense. I was like, okay, handle it, and I hung up. She would proceed to call me 15 times that day. She rearranged the seating chart without my consent. By the time I got to the hall to approve finishing touches, everything had already been taken over by my mother. She had moved all of our family up front and tried to push all of my fiance's family and our friends to the back because she was worried I'd offend family. When I started rearranging back to the original seating chart, she began to cry and made a big deal about how I yelled at her and how I was hurting relationships with the family. My fiance followed her and simply asked if everybody could be an adult, which seemed to change her tone, since she wasn't getting the response she wanted. I had to redo the seating chart the night before since everything was so jumbled, and that made me late for my own dress rehearsal. Then, she sent me on a wild goose chase for baby's breath, because I can't get married without baby's breath. I was literally having a nervous breakdown in the flower aisle of the third store trying to find baby's breath when my fiance asked me if I wanted baby's breath. I was like, wait, no, and I snapped out of this weird frenzy my mother had managed to put me in. Then we were on our way to rehearsal dinner. Even though I had told her to get in the rehearsal place and start rehearsing without us, my mother made everyone sit outside because she wanted to wait for us. Then, when we did get there, she was trying to guilt trip us for waiting outside for us. Then she was trying to lead the procession. I wasn't having that, so I called everybody's line and time to go down. My mother wanted to go down with the ring bearers and follow flower girls because she thought it'd be cute. Okay, fine. Come day of, she and every relative she was caravanning arrives undressed to the location. Why, you ask? Because she heard there would be a photographer and thought it'd be cute to have pictures of everybody getting ready. The only problem being is that they took over the rooms me and the bridesmaids were getting ready in. It was a nightmare. Then she was hanging all over me, trying to get in on every picture I was in. At one point, stepping on my veil and yanking my head back. At that point, I asked her to get off of me until I was finished getting ready. Then she cried and ran off. All of a sudden, her friend, who was not invited and definitely not a bridesmaid or groomsman, comes in, starts taking pictures and vomiting compliments on my mom and me. It was just so overwhelming. When I finally do get done getting dressed, my mom is asked to do one picture with me helping put the veil on. Just one. And yet she is crying and blubbering and being very extra that her baby is getting married. She couldn't even stay composed for the photo, so we'll see how that one comes out. Ceremony time. The music is starting and the line is going when suddenly my mother stops the procession mid-march because now she wants to be walking down with me and is trying to make our sound guy go down the aisle with the kids instead of her. I was pissed. I literally yelled at her, "You picked your own position. Stand in your spot you picked for yourself and get your butt down that aisle, or don't walk at all." During all this craziness, my crazy sister-in-law snuck into the procession and walked down the aisle with the ring bearers, and my mother was with the flower girl crying. I finally go down the aisle with my father, and the world melts away at the sight of my fiancé. He is the most gorgeous man I've ever seen. Then, picture time. My mother is all over the place, again. She is trying to run the photography and keeps sticking her damn friend in my pictures. She tries multiple times to kick me and my fiancé's friends out of the pictures and replacing them with her damn work friend who came in a suit in the opposite colors of my wedding. I finally get to my photographer and explain what's going on, and she gets the memo and releases my family and my mom's friend to get the hell out. My mom tried to insist on waiting for me and my fiancé, but she already insisted on decorating the cake. So, she needs to get the hell out of Dodge so the cake can be ready. After a lot of unnecessary pushing to get her out, our best man and maid of honor kick her out. Then comes the reception. My mother is withholding people from entering because she is still trying to change the menu day of. The caterer literally called me frantic, trying to figure out what the hell was going on. I just about blew my lid. I calmly told them that, no, I did not ask to add an entirely new entree, and no, nothing my mother was saying was something I asked her to do. At that point, I sent one of my bridesmaids to pull my mom away from the nice working people. However, she was literally having a stomping hissy fit because the caterer wasn't listening to her, and my poor bridesmaids got scared away from the grown woman's temper tantrum. Luckily, her friend didn't really stay for the reception, so that was a plus. The rest of the reception went smooth, besides the occasional just no mom interrupting the DJ to change the songs to something she wants. I didn't really care. Everything went swimmingly. Then, after the reception, we had to pack up. Even the breakdown went smoothly. The leftover champagne and cake was left in a front table, and after everything was said and done, we were going to take the leftover cake and champagne, right? Wrong. My mother sent some poor unsuspecting brother-in-law to try and steal the champagne from my fiancé, right out of his hands. I kid you not. Our best man stopped him and was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And my brother-in-law was so confused. He was asked by my mother to get the champagne. Why, you ask? When my mother was asked, she laughed and smiled and had no idea what he was talking about. And yet, what was 4 champagne bottles turned into 2 champagne bottles. She took the other 2, but I couldn't care less. However, our best man predicted this was going to be a reoccurring theme and super sped loading our car with the rest of the food and cake. At the end of it, the banquet hall manager patted me on the back and said, "Don't worry, all brides get a little crazy on their wedding day." I about snapped. Then, on our way home. And then on our honeymoon, my mother calls us. Me. Hello? Mom. OMG, where's the wedding cake? Me. What do you mean? Me and husband has it. Mom. But I wanted it. Me. You wanted my wedding cake? Mom. Yeah, I didn't get any. Me. At all? Not even at the wedding? Mom. Well, no, I had some at the wedding, but I wanted to take some home with me so I could celebrate and eat it. Me. But why? Mom. Crickets. Me. Hello? Mom. I want the wedding cake. I want it now. You're just going to have to drive to my house and drop it off before you start your honeymoon. Me. No. We have a tight schedule to get to our destination. I can't go 2 hours out of my way to get you cake. Mom. Silence. I just thought a little cake would be nice after everything. I mean, you really hurt my feelings when you yelled at me. Crocodile tears. Me. Okay. This is sarcastic. Sorry if I hurt your feelings, but you were way out of line. I'll freeze some cake and bring it to you the next time I see you after our honeymoon. Mom. Sniffles. I want at least 6 slices. Me. I'm just going to pack and give you what I can. Love you. Bye. And finally, blissful silence. Edit. I just wanted to let y'all know that I am definitely not going out of my way to get my mother cake. I said this to ensure a quiet, just no free honeymoon. If she wants to make a big stink afterwards, I'm going to give her cake with a big no contact letter attached. Do not give that self-centered poop stain anything. She tried pretty hard to make your wedding what she wanted. Duck what the bride wanted or had planned. She only cares about herself. Please stop bending over backwards to accommodate someone who doesn't give a crap about you. She gets no cake. Bad toddlers don't get cake for tantrums.